Welcome to Can It Be Fixed? This channel is about teaching and showing you how the ordinary homeowner, housewife, kid can fix things on their own without asking for a lot of help. There are certain tools and there are certain materials that are required to fix things, and especially around the home. If you are someone who likes to fix things around your home and you've picked up a hammer or a tool and you went to get a nail and you go to your local hardware store and you wonder, what nail should I use for this project? Well, there's a lot of confusion about nails, and I want to share with you this morning what I've picked up over 55 years being around nails and construction. A lot has changed in those years. Today, you look at someone building a new home, they pull up in a trailer, it's full of tools, and they pull out nailers, power nailers, and they nail everything basically or mostly with a power nailer. Well, it didn't used to be that way. Everything we did back in the time that I started in construction, almost everything, I should clarify, almost, not quite, we used hammers to pound in nails. And over those 50 plus years that I was around it, I learned a few things about nails. And if you bear with me to the end of this video, I will share with you some of the tools that I was brought and raised up with in pounding these nails in. But first, before I talk about any of the tools, I want to talk about nails. There are several of them before me. You can't see them. There are several nails that I'm looking at here. Now, some of them are not common to what you will be using or doing. But I will briefly share with you what they are. If you're building a pole barn, for instance, back in the day, and still today, we used ring shank nails. These nails are designed to go through a piece of wood and attaching to a treated piece of wood. They're ring shanked, and once they're pounded in, these rings here they grab into the wood, and it's extremely hard to pull them out. There's different lengths and sizes of these ring-shanked pole barn spikes, is what we called them in today. So if you're going to be pounding into treated wood, or you're pounding pieces of wood together and you don't want them to pull loose, this is the nail you would use. Another nail that we use commonly in today that frankly is hardly ever used, I think, the nail in itself. And these are what we call flathead nails. Flathead, more specifically, flathead roofing nails, sheeting nails. There's a lot of uses for these nails. For instance, if you want to pound something in that's a little softer and you don't want it to pull through, you use a bigger headed nail like this. These are normally galvanized or some kind of rust-resistant coating on them. The ones we used back in the day was the shorter ones. We used them to attach roofing to sheeting on a roof. This was commonly used to put shingles on. We used our hands and hammers, and we pounded at least 4 nails into every shingle. And also the black paper or the tar paper that it's commonly referred to. Felt paper is another name. We use this to attach to felt paper. Today, you'll see someone out on a roof with a staple gun. And bam, 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 and there they go, stapling it on. It's fast, it's quick. But when I started over 50 years ago, this is the most common nail we use for roofing and for subsiding. If we would put some kind of composite subsiding on, this was the nail we used. What can you use it for around the home? Many applications you could use this nail for where you need a bigger head. Don't forget about roofing nails or flat-headed nails. Those are really used commonly, or well, they were really used commonly back in the day when I was in construction. Another nail that isn't used commonly, but you could have a lot of uses for it. It's not a nail, but it is what we call steeple. Back in the day, we called these steeples. A lot of people refer to them as staples, but in the day they were called steeples. There are several different sizes that you can use. Take a look at those and you can see. Now these are commonly used to put fencing together. You got a wood post in the ground, you got some kind of fencing that would go in here, and you'd pound that in and it would hold it to the post. There's many uses a homeowner or do-it-yourself could use these for. Having a few of these steeples on hand in your home would be a good idea, because anything you want to attach to a hard surface, there's different lengths, you just put it in there and pound it in. Another uncommon nail that you probably won't use much, but you may, is attaching a piece of wood or something to concrete. Yes, you can pound into concrete. This nail right here is called a concrete nail. It's got ridges in it, and it's a hardened nail. It's designed to get this length here, which is about 2.5 inches or so, is designed to go through a 2x4, pound through the 2x4, hitting the concrete, going into the concrete and attaching that 2x4 to concrete. Today, they have power activated nailers that will pound these in, along with Tapcons, a special concrete screw that you can put nails in with. Tapcons, concrete screws, you drill a hole, you screw it in. They weren't around when I started. We had these nails and another one I don't have, which looks like a square shape. Some people would call them horseshoe nails, but those are the ones I preferred when I started. There's the square cut nails, what we call them. And this isn't as common. You may use this, you may not, but if you're pounding into something hard, this would work as an alternative to a nail. Another nail that you don't see much anymore that's been replaced with screws is this double-headed nail. Why would you have to have a double-headed nail? Well, simply, if you want to attach something, but you want the ability to pull it out, again, the nail. So you pound this nail in, it goes into the wood, it attaches, you've got this double head, you can pull it out. These were used commonly in the day to form wooden forms, to build a wooden form for concrete work. If you're going to pour concrete, you would use nails like this to build your forms, to attach it, and then coming back, you could just pull them out. Today, a lot of this is done with screws and other kinds of fasteners. Getting back to the pole barn nail, we have what we call a siding nail. This is a neoprene black washer, and this is designed to go through a piece of metal into wood. Again, it's ring shanked, it holds, and you can attach tightly. Back in the day, this is all they had to attach metal to roofs. The idea is you pound it in, this neoprene washer comes tight against the metal, and just the right amount of tension on that will seal around that hole, that penetration into your steel so it doesn't leak. And that's what we call a siding nail. And our roofing, metal siding nail, used commonly back when today they use, they've got a little 1/4-inch hexagon head on it, self-drilling. You put it into a screw gun, zip right in. Much more faster that way, but for the typical homeowner that's doing projects just around their own property, this nail works great. Another nail you may come across in doing repairs around the house is a drywall nail. Today, drywall is mostly attached with screws. But back when I started, there wasn't any screws, or it wasn't a typical practice. What we used is a ring-shanked small nail like this. This again go through a piece of drywall. The head's a little bit smaller, and that's for a reason. You have different sizes for different thicknesses of drywall. The idea of these heads, and a lot of them, and I have a box of them over here, right there. A lot of these nails had a cupped head. It was cupped just a little bit, so that the last little pound on that nail, you would dimple that drywall some without breaking the paper now. Without breaking the paper, so that you could skim a coat of drywall mud over it to sand it out smooth so you don't see the nail. In today's lumber, I'm afraid if you use this on a lot of the products today, they would pop. What that means, they would come loose a little bit, pop out, and then you would see the nail head through your finished wall. To cure that problem, and the way lumber's cured and the way it was cured back then that wasn't as big an issue as it is today. But they use screws to remedy the issue of popping nails. So the screws, you put them in, they don't come out. And that was the whole idea of switching to screws and speed, because they put these screws in a strip, and again with the power activated, zip, 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 and you got it done. But everybody should have either these or back to the roofing nails. I've even used the roofing nails to put drywall up so that I wouldn't break that paper. If you break the paper and then the outside paper and drywall when you're putting your nails in, that nail will not hold nearly as well. Paper's there for a reason, not just for looks. Now if we go inside, now let's stay outside. Let's go to these, what we called commons. A common nail. You see this nail? That's a common. The difference between a common and a sinker. A sinker is a lot skinnier, and you can just see the difference there. But let me talk about this common nail. A common nail was typically used back in the day for green lumber, hardened lumber, and different applications. Now we use these, which is called a 20. That's a 20 penny, to go through 2 pieces of 2x4, 3 inches, into another plate below to attach a double 2x4. There's other nails that take the place, but commons were, no pun intended, commonly used back in the day. Now bear with me, I'm almost done here. There's a couple other nails that you need to be aware of. If you're putting up an outside door, outside trim, and you want to nail it, this is called a casing nail. It's used to attach a pre-hung door or anything where weather will hit it. This has a galvanized coating. It's a little rougher nail. It's got a galvanized coating on it, as you can see. And you'll want to use a nail similar to this. They come in different sizes, different shapes. Fact is, I'll show you one here if I can find it. Right here is another one. You can see the difference in size there. Casing nail, a galvanized 8-penny. That's what this is. They have ring shank, or not ring shank, but curved or twisted. These would be used to put siding on. Very common nail back in the day when I started construction. I'm sure there are replacements for these. This isn't a nail you would typically have around the house unless you were doing some work outside, but I'd recommend this, or this 16-penny, an 8-penny, and then this is another 8-penny with a smaller head, typically used for some kind of wooden siding or something to that nature. Okay, getting inside the trim nail. The trim nail has been again replaced with a newer styles nails. They have brad nails, they have finish nails, all kinds of nails that come in strips. You put in a gun and you just bam, bam, bam. But back in the day, we used this type of nail. That's a finish nail. It's skinny, it's smooth, it has a smaller head on it. You would pound this in to within a 1/4 inch or so of your trim. Surface face, and the reason you do that is so you didn't ding that with your hammer, called hammer marks. And in trim work, you do not want hammer marks. So we'd take a nail set, which is just a little tool like this that comes to a taper point, just a little smaller than this head. You'd put that on there and tap that in till it was even with your surface, but you would want to punch it in just a little further so that you could put some filler over that head. And then once you sand that down, paint it or varnish it, you never see that nail with the filler. There's several different sizes. There's a bigger one, that's a 16. This would be considered, I think, a 6-penny or an 8-penny, maybe a 4-penny, and then the smaller one. I don't have the sizes right here in front of me, but you get the meaning of what I'm trying to say. A lot smaller ones, and I want to share an old trick with you that I learned years ago. Fact is, 2 tricks with these nails. And that comes from a Finnish carpenter who had been into business for years, much longer than what I had been alive when I was introduced to this finish nail. First of all, on some hardened trims and the grainy trims products that were available, you would have to be very careful, or you pound a nail in like this and it would split the wood. Well, there's a couple tricks to the trade that you may be interested in. If you take a hammer and you just flatten the point of that nail right there, just tap your hammer and flatten that a little bit, what that does is when you go to pound that in, it will not follow the grain of the wood after that, which usually results in a split. What it does, it'll go through different layers or different grains because it doesn't have that point guiding it. So that helps a lot when it comes to putting a finish nail in and not splitting the wood. Trick number 2 is some hardwoods you have to pre-drill. Well, how do you pre-drill hardwood? Find the right bit so that it's not too big or too small for this nail. Well, a little tip and trick that I learned years ago from an old Finnish carpenter. Now, these guys aren't around anymore, I'm telling you. And some of these tricks and tips are dying. But what you do is you take that nail and you clip that head off, a snipper, something, and you just clip that head off. You put that nail in your drill, and that nail serves as your drill bit to drill a hole into the piece of wood you want to attach. Now think about that for a minute. That's the perfect size hole, so that when you get a nail that doesn't have the head cut off, you get that nail and you run it through that piece of wood. Guess what? You see that little bit right there still holds that piece of wood on very tightly and secure enough, and it'll last for years that way. That's just a little trick of the trade. Perfectly, you can do perfect in size and shape. You can do that to any trim nail that you find yourself wanting to use in hardwood or you're struggling with splitting. Okay, now we're down to the last nails I want to share with you, the one that you will ultimately use the most in your home, and that is the cement-coated sinker. What do I mean by cement-coated sinker? Now you see this nail right here. That is a 16 SS penny nail. And what that nail is this is what you would use to attach 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x8s, anything you're nailing dimensional lumber together with. Every homeowner should have these in their toolbox or in their available. Every homeowner and anyone that does any kind of carpentry work will use a 16 penny nail along with the 8 penny. Smaller version. Now I showed you those common nails earlier. Now take a look at that. There's a huge difference there. This nail will bend easier, it will go in harder, and it will rust quicker than this nail. This nail you would use for hard green lumber, something that you'd want to attach. This nail, since it is skinnier, would bend easier if you tried to pound that through hard wood. And the cement coating, you see that colored coating on there. A lot of people don't realize this, but this nail was designed to glue itself into the wood. I was told from the old guys, many of them not around anymore. I never Googled this or researched it or anything, so fact check me if you want. But this coating, when you pound that nail in, it causes enough friction, just enough friction, that when that goes in, this coating will glue itself right to the piece of wood that you're trying to attach. And believe me, to pull these out sometimes can be difficult, but they will come out. In all of these nails, there are several of them, different lengths, different sizes that you will use. Now these nails here are the ones that you want to keep available to you at home. From hanging a small picture on the wall to attaching a small piece of wood, a small project you're doing, perfect for that. This nail right here, the 8 penny nail, it was most commonly used to attach plywood to surfaces such as your floor deck or your roof sheeting or your siding. We use this nail to attach it. This nail is a very common nail to have. If you don't have any others at home to use, have this and have this. 16, 8, 16 cement-coated sinker, 8 cement-coated sinker. Most, if not every hardware store you'd walk into should have these on the shelf. They're not that expensive. $2, $3 a pound, if they still sell them by the pound. That's another thing. Briggs Hardware, the hardware that I manage, sells these nails by the pound. Most of what I've shown you today, we sell by the pound. Very, very inexpensive. Like I said, $2, $3 a pound. You get a lot of nails for that. Well, that's all I'm going to share with you today about nails. I hope you found this informative and interesting. I tried to explain it as quickly as I could, not to take too much of your time today. Now, I shared with you early in this video that I want to talk to you about one of the most common tools that a homeowner will use. The most common tool is just an ordinary hammer. There are so many hammers on the market today. How do you know which hammer to use? Well, in an upcoming video, I'm going to share with you which hammer that I've used and continue to use today. So stay tuned, subscribe, like, and hit the notification button to Can It Be Fixed? Yes, it can. These tools and these ideas and these products that I bring to you are tools and products that I've used my entire life in fixing things. Not only do I like to mess around with mechanical stuff, but I have built many, many things in my day. I started in construction when I was 13 years old. And I've, for the most part, enjoyed it. But what I'm trying to do is show you how to do what I have learned to do, but at my age no longer can do. So I'm just sharing the knowledge that I have and that I've picked up over the years in hopes that someday somebody may watch this and say, ah, boy, that's good to know. I'm going to share, as I had said, upcoming video, the confusion about hammers. Which hammer have I used consistently over the years? So subscribe, like, hit that little notification button, and we will catch you on the next one.